This is AM Natchitoches on 1450 KNOC.
Good morning, Natchitoches. Welcome to the program. This is Joe. Joining me this morning, just preparing to sit down Miss Caroline Abreau with Doves. You may remember last week she joined us kind of at the last second, kind of spur of the moment deal. But this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we are glad to have you in because this is a very important issue to be discussed and something that people do need to be made aware of.
Yes, October, as we know, is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so you'll see a lot of ribbons out this month. Pink ribbons for the breast cancer and the purple ribbons for domestic violence. A lot of things to do with women's health in general, but we have to understand that also domestic violence doesn't just affect women. It affects children, it affects elderly people, it affects men as well. So basically what we're trying to get out the awareness about is that silence perpetuates the one to be able to look out there and see that all of the homes in the community are safe homes.
I think last time you came on, you said there were a couple things you guys would be doing throughout the month. Can you kind of talk about those a little bit?
Sure. We've started already with passing out purple ribbons. We started on Front Street with the businesses down there, and we'd encourage everyone who has gotten a purple ribbon to display it somewhere so that people can see that it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We've also got some awareness tables up at the libraries, the parish library and the college library, and also in the front lobby area of the courthouse that have information, more brochures. The library tables will have different books that we've recommended that we've found on the shelves in the libraries that can be checked out about domestic violence. We're going to be doing panel discussion with Alpha Phi Alpha. How can I forget these Greek names? Over at the college, coming up on the 13th. I think that's the Wednesday. That panel discussion should include members of the community that are in law enforcement as well as social services to discuss domestic violence, and it will be open to people to ask questions and get some feedback if they're interested in that. And also we're going to be doing our annual vigil, which will be on the 21st at Trinity Episcopal Church at 5 p.m. And our annual vigil is when we read the list of the domestic violence homicides that have occurred over the past year, and we honor them as well as any survivors that have come or have been part of our program during the year previous. We also honor our Volunteer of the Year at that, so it's always an important thing for us, and it's a nice service. We like to have people get together and just kind of think about the process during the course of the year that sadly we've got, I think, 65 names from across the state of domestic violence homicides, and that's just, it's higher than last year, and we know that Louisiana has the highest domestic violence homicide rate in the United States, but that's just unacceptable. We want to see that number get smaller and smaller as the years go by.
And 65 over the past, just that 1 year, right?
Mm-hmm. That's from 2009 to 2010, yes.
That's, you're right, that is absolutely unacceptable. And you guys have all these events, but you guys aren't just doing things 1 month out of the year. You're a year-round organization.
Oh, certainly. We're a standalone nonprofit here in Natchitoches, and our primary goal is the safety of people who are experiencing domestic violence, and that basically is from all ends of the spectrum. We know that domestic violence is not just hitting people, it's also coercion and control, stalking, other aspects of domestic violence that don't necessarily include physical violence. So we encourage anyone who is experiencing that problem with power and control in their home to at least talk with an advocate or speak with someone about what they may be concerned about in their own home or someone else's.
When it comes to, you mentioned early on in the show that silence is really it really contributes to this. When it comes to somebody who will not speak out against their abuser, how exactly does that person get help?
That is probably one of the more difficult aspects of working with domestic violence, is there's so many reasons why a person would be afraid or concerned or unwilling to speak out against the violence or the abuse that's happening in the home. There's multiple reasons. Women many times will stay in the situation for financial reasons or because of the children or just plain out because of fear or because they've been conditioned to believe that they can't do things on their own, and so they feel that they are completely dependent on the abuser for their livelihood or their care. And that's a gradual process that happens as a result of the grooming of the abuse.
Can you kind of talk about that conditioning a little? How exactly does the abuser condition the abused to that level?
Well, initially, a relationship that's an abusive relationship may start out looking very similar to any other relationship. The people meet and they're very attracted to each other and they become infatuated. And generally, some of the early signs that a person can notice in a person who is a controller is that they want to know everything that the person's doing, everywhere the person's going. They become very obsessive with the other person's actions and behaviors and who they're seeing, where they're going, all of those sorts of things. So it's very difficult sometimes for younger people to see that this is becoming an abusive relationship, because many times in young relationships, I see, especially in teenagers, that seems to be kind of, they're texting each other constantly, calling each other constantly, wanting to know where each other are. But when you step over that line to where the person is, basically telling the person what to wear, telling the person who to see, isolating them from family and friends, it's a subtle process, but it starts with those sorts of things. And then once the person has the person isolated, then they begin kind of a process of telling them what they want them to believe about themselves.
And you mentioned that for teenagers it's hard to kind of see this. Is there a measured teenage domestic violence rate?
Well, we don't see as much of it as I believe that is out there. We try to encourage that people teach their children early on that one of the keynotes of being in a relationship is respect for individuality and respect for a person's boundaries, and also respect for their rights to be able to do what they please and see who they please. So in a relationship, if a person feels that they're, if they get that little warning bell in their head that this person is being a little bit too obsessive, they won't give them any personal space, won't let them breathe, that they're not allowing them to see their friends or do the activities that they'd previously done. These are things that they need to pay attention to. Statistically, I'd say that you're going to see in any dating group, teenagers or adults, about the same percentages of violence. Young people don't necessarily know that there's an alternative, and especially if they've been reared in a household where they may see the same sort of activity amongst their parents. They may believe that that's the norm. They may think that's the way that relationships are supposed to be.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about what you just said, that perception of how relationships are supposed to be, that and a couple other things when we return from a break here in just a moment.